drawing a fox with you on thick watercolor paper. I will be using watercolor, of course. We will need a simple pencil for the outline and a gel pen that does not smudge with water. As an aid, I'll use this dish of a suitable size. To draw a smooth circle, painter's tape is also very suitable in size. A jar with water is essential, as well as paper napkins to blot the brushes. I always have regular pencils and a felt tip pen on my desk if needed. So to draw a little fox, we draw the largest possible circle, place it in the center, leave a little space here at the edges. Don't make the plate so that it is right up to the edges. That's not suitable. You need to place it roughly like this and outline it gently. No need to press hard on the pencil, because then erasing all this would be very problematic. Drew one circle here a little weak. It stuck out a bit, but that's okay. And I am outlining the inner edge of the second circle. The inner outline like this, centered perfectly. Placed all the circles. We don't need them anymore. Now we will work with this inner part. Our task is to draw the fox's tail, hind thigh, muzzle, and we'll roughly sketch it all out now. So first we draw a wave like this, and the second one a bit bigger, right here. It turns out we have something like a seagull flying over the sun, you see, right? So we have the sun, and there a seagull is flying slightly at an angle. We bring this line all the way down. This will be the place where the fox's tail comes out, and here our tail will go beyond the boundary. And like this, we enlarge it. We can even make a slightly patterned tail, and here we'll indicate this part. We'll have the transition of the white tip into a beautiful fluffy red tail. Next, somewhere here, I will draw the nose, and now my task is to draw the fox's face, which rests on this soft, fluffy red tail. I draw two such waves upward. Two lines upwards will form an inverted little tent and the upper part of the fox's head. Ensure it's proportional so that you don't end up with a giant head and a tiny body. Step back, sit down and see what you've got. Here it is, the fox's head. You can erase these unnecessary interior markings on the muzzle. We also erase this part so it doesn't confuse us. We're missing the ears, so we'll draw like this, 1 angle 2, and lower our ears here, 1, 2, and we've already got something. From these corners on the muzzle, we should drop such lines to the nose. And in the other direction too, and see what we have here. It's already taking shape. Yes, it's turning out great in my opinion. Here we will have the eyes. They can be open, they can be closed. Well, my little fox is resting for this, resting in her den. Try experimenting with different angles of the eyes. That is depending on how much closer or farther they are. The expression on the fox's face looks different. So here we will have some fur. Let's erase a little. We do not need thick lines. We remove, and here we sketch. Here we will have fur. Next, here we will have her hind paw. So look, our little fox is ready, and now we need to start coloring. We will begin with coloring the little fox, and then we will color the entire background, burrow or frame. Here you decide what it will be, and all of this we will later draw with either watercolors or markers. Well, let's begin. take a medium brush, wet it well, and wet our entire fox except for these parts where there is a white muzzle. Yes, even if you struggle with the face, it's not critical. But I wouldn't do it because I still want to keep the face white, so we carefully paint over this part with water. Make sure your brush is clean, and this is how we wet it all. Actually, we can also paint the tip of the tail. So at different angles, if you are not sure what you have painted there, just tilt your head slightly towards the light and see where it is wet. Well, and then the borders right away. And we will start with yellow. We take a little bit of yellow and here right on the face like this with little drops. It looks beautiful. We leave the accents. It's like the paint is dripping from the brush and we apply this paint. That's it. Next, we place a little yellow on the back here. Don't apply it too thick. And then we spread it. Let the paint flow. When watercolor dries, it becomes slightly lighter. And here we also added a little bit of yellow. That's it. Next, we take some orange color and we begin to paint over at the edge of our little fox. Like this, let the watercolor flow beautifully. It will be very nice. And we went around in a circle, just like that. We don't touch the tip of the tail yet, and we boldly paint all of this, trying to slightly blend the colors. You can paint the ears red right away or later black. For now, I'll paint them with a very light shade. Literally just a bit of paint got on them. Now we rinse the brush a little and squeeze it. And here you need to do like this. And where you have a very sharp transition, we blend it. Here you can blend it a bit and add it here. Now let's take a little bit of blue paint and dip it a little in brown. In fact, white color is never just white. Even a fox's tail always has some shade. And even a fox's snout. So we add this tiny bit of blue or light blue mixed with brown, just a little like this. With a semi-dry brush, like sketching the face up to the fur. And let it dry while our little fox dries. Here, I would blur a little more. I don't mix this yellow highlight on the back, it remains. And here, I would probably add a bit of a darker reddish color to make the fold on the hip more visible right here with little dots. Add everything, let the fox dry, and we thoroughly wash around like this. Wet the entire frame. Do this very carefully. You can let the foxes die for 5 minutes if you're afraid the paint will run. I begin. Just outline with water along the widest diameter like this. Because the paper is thick and will absorb for quite a long time, I wet it all very carefully like this. You see, even here mine has already run a little. If something has run for you, don't be afraid. Take a paper napkin and blot it like this. Remove everything. And here you choose the color of the mink, anyone. Blue, green. What color will your burrow be? I have a winter fox, so it will have a dark blue burrow, but very beautifully decorated. Or maybe it's a dream in which the fox is sleeping, and we can draw something from its dream around. But everything is enough. Then we choose some cool deep shade. We can mix several shades of blue, add turquoise and mix with green, which will also be very beautiful. And just like that, a bright line. You can even tilt it a little and then the paint will spread. It will turn out very beautiful. Take a larger brush so it picks up more paint. Then it will be easier for you to paint. And just like that, we blend it a little with water. And it's very beautiful. Let's get more paint on the brush. That's what is good about natural squirrel or pony watercolor brushes. They hold a lot of water. No synthetic brush can hold as much paint as a natural brush does. That's why good quality natural brushes for watercolor are very important. You can make the color even deeper. Mix, for example, even with purple. And apply it directly along the outline while it's still very wet. And deepen here. You try, experiment as you like it more. If it does not blend well, then of course it is better to rinse the brush, squeeze it slightly, and add some water here. The paint will keep spreading. But here I have an interesting effect. It doesn't cover the paper well. It's as if someone drew there with wax crayons. You can tilt it in different directions. I would like to add more. Dark shades. That's how it is. And then a little water. Also try not to end up with a mess. If you start mixing too many colors, more than 3, it can result in a very muddy effect. We don't need such an effect, so be very careful as we blend the edge here. Do not rush with watercolor. It does not like haste and prefers being dried thoroughly. Now we need to let our work dry. You can go have a snack, drink some water, eat an apple, and then come back. There is also a hairdryer. I will do it with a hairdryer now. Next, we take a thin brush and start working on our little fox. I pick up orange color and go over the outline in some places. Along the back, on the tail right here, and start such, if your orange merges, mixes, blends with the little fox. Now we will be drawing in the fur with small strokes. I take the thinnest brush I have and start drawing the fur in the direction of growth. It's like, a very meditative activity. All the lines from the edges tend towards my nose here. All the hairs. Do not do too much, because we will still be adding with white gouache or a white marker later. That is, our task now is just to show the direction of hair growth. The strokes should not be too small. And at the same time, they should not be very long. And that's how they start moving. As if I'm sewing on a machine, stitching. Here it's curling more. It doesn't go in this direction, it curls around in a circle. We also start the tail from the very tip. Here you can draw a little along the length. And we begin to continue, and we continue stitching, yes, like on a machine. Here we see the pattern has changed slightly. It goes for us like this. And this tip here is also light. We are coloring in. You can do this with a marker. You can take. Now just mix a little red color with brown. You can even add a drop of blue here to get a burgundy, and here we'll shade a bit. Here, we'll outline the little fox's face like this. If the brush is dry, slightly dampen it. If you're painting and the paint starts to break off, it means there's not enough water. You need to add more water. And also right where they did it like this, you can paint the ears dark brown. Or even black. You can do this later with a marker if you are afraid it won't work out. If you're doing it carefully, don't rush, do it later with a marker. I make the tips darker and then blend it out, and we end up with such cute little ears. We leave a little bit of red here, so it's visible that there's the inner part of the ear, so we don't color the vertical stripe all the way. Further, while the little fox is drying here on the face, we'll leave it, and now we engage our imagination. We can take a black marker, blue marker, purple marker, or use pencils or watercolor. I will continue drawing with watercolor. I want to draw different plants here in a circle inside, and will use for this. I will use the same brush, but will take a darker color than the one I used for the inner part. And to make drawing easier, I will turn my picture this way. This is really great. First, I will outline very thinly stems of these plants. which will wrap around everything here roughly from this edge using various stamping motions with the brush. I am picking up a lot of paint. I will draw beautiful branches. I leave the tip and press the brush slightly. Somewhere you can connect them, you can make them at different levels. Here you draw as your imagination suggests. First we can draw branches, then some leaves. These could be oak leaves, these could be fir branches. For now I am drawing everything in one style. After I have drawn all the branches I have, I will add dry grasses. I pick up the same dark color, dark blue, so that these grasses are clearly visible. And I draw these umbrellas, you know, like those often found in a summer meadow. Where I have blanks, I fill them in. I don't fill every spot. Only in some places. Right here I want to draw a little blade of grass. And here, oh, what a big blade of grass it turned out to be. Well, if something turns out bigger than you expected, you can turn it into a twig. Stretch it out with such small leaves. And somewhere else even draw something similar for symmetry. Like that. Now to add something else here, I would add the same thing right here. You can draw stars, but the brush again should be very, very thin. So if you want to draw stars, for me, for the little fox, this will be such a winter dawn where she sleeps and dreams. And scatter some stars here and there. It's not even necessary to color them in completely inside. And they can also be of different sizes, not just 5-pointed. They can be like these. Crisscross and 2 more times and so on in a circle. Here, for example, above the head, 2 small ones, big ones, and all this can actually be done with a felt tip pen or even simple colored pencils. We scatter little stars. I'd like to add a bit of color to the fox, so I'll pick a bright red color. You can use a red marker if you like, and let's scatter a few red berries among the branches. Only the glass is sticking to me today. And the strange sounds. It's better to draw the berries larger, then they will be clearly visible. In this case, if you are painting with a watercolor, apply it very thickly, do not skimp. In this instance, when we need to render something very brightly, watercolor can quite handle this. Yes, right here it's too small, and you see I'm painting with just the very tip of the brush. Very, very tip, and I'm painting like kind of 2. I'm trying to draw the circle with 2 lines, meaning I draw one arc and then a second one on top, and only then do I complete the berry. As I already mentioned, the berries may not be everywhere. If there is something unpainted inside, leave it, because every object should always have highlights. Then this object becomes more three-dimensional. For example, our little fox. See, it's not entirely orange. We used yellow, somewhere darker oranges and lighter ones. So then we get that the little fox is three-dimensional. That's how we drew the berries. Let's draw some more here. Let's take a black marker. I will just use black paint since I am painting. You can take a black marker and draw our foxes with these closed eyes. Beautiful, very beautiful. The main thing is to keep your hand steady. Make sure to draw the nose, and again I leave a highlight. I don't paint over this nose completely, right? I leave a little highlight. The nose can also be different. It can be bigger or smaller. I'll add these cute little eyelashes to the foxes. And with a semi-dry brush or a very thin pencil, you can, to make the brush semi-dry, just a little on the napkin, and like this we slightly, if you feel it's not necessary, don't draw. I'll slightly sketch its face here. We rinse everything. I also have a white marker which we can use to draw highlights. You need to wait for all this to dry. If you used a felt tip pen, then of course you can do it right away. You can draw color and add white highlights in some places. For example, on the fox, we can also draw a few highlights on the tips. Oh, so much paint has leaked, but that's okay, we'll fix it now. I'll paint over it later once it dries. And just like that, dots, duplicating shots. I try not to hit the orange ones, but we do get between them. You can use white gouache with a thin brush. If not, you can stop here. There's no need to paint over everything further, especially if you feel it's not working out. It's better to stop there. I also have a simple white gel pen. It's much thinner. And with it, you can just draw. Internal stems here can be drawn only on one side, like for example on this side or here. This will also create, you know, a kind of depth. You can also scatter some dots on the dark background like this, which looks really nice. So that it can be seen, well, can we make a sketch when we take a wide brush? For example, this kind of old brush that is quite stiff, and we dip it in white gouache, slightly diluted on the palette, and in this way we sprinkle it. The most important thing here is not to splatter the whole table, or we can use a similar brush like mine, this trusty one, sometimes firmer. We also take white paint, thin it, but not to the state of water, then the splatter won't work, but thick enough, like sour cream, you know, like cream perhaps, and in this way we create the splatter. This is also a very cool idea, but this time we will use with a white pen and add these kinds of highlights. Well, you can add to the berries where I left. You can also draw some extra fur here. In general, let's say if you feel that something didn't turn out right, You can take, for example, the same brown color, and if you want to darken somewhere, yes, you just take that brown color over the already existing. Darken, for example, the tail here at the bottom. We make more shadows here on the back, just like this, slightly tilting the pencil. We definitely do not hold it strictly vertical, otherwise the pencil mark will be very sharp. And we need to achieve the effect of soft shading, so we tilt the pencil as much as possible and start drawing with this flat part. For example, you can draw shadows here with a dark pencil. Here you can take a bit of orange, and if you feel like it, you can fill it in just like this. You can also darken a bit here around the muzzle. It's only on the eyes you can add a little pencil. It gives, you know, a completion to the whole work. Interesting. Has it dried or not? It's almost dried here. This pencil gives a completion to the work, and that's why look how great it is. Our winter work turned out, and in general these fox can be like in summer. In the setting, I would say, like in a summer burrow, lying somewhere on a meadow or under a tree, like in autumn leaves where it can burrow. You can cover it with maple leaves, oak leaves, or just lay it in lush green grass. You can turn the fox in another direction, or you can draw it as a cub. But overall, everything that your imagination allows, everything is in your hands, and we will end up with such a cute fox who sees beautiful winter dreams. If you liked the lesson, subscribe to my channel, like the video, and come back in a while. There will definitely be new lessons. Bye everyone!